She thought she was being sneaky. Little did she know, I found out everything through a co-worker who was upset about it. I made my plans and got ready. Luckily, I had time to deal with my anger and prepare for what was coming. It was all set to begin after dinner tonight. Tonight, Kayla? My friend Mary asked. Yeah. I'm finally going to do it. I'll wait until after dinner, get him a beer, and then I'll tell you what happens, I replied. Just be strong. He won't like it, but you have to stay strong, Mary advised. I'll remember that, just like we agreed. He doesn't have a choice. This is how it's going to be. And if he really loves me, he'll let me do this for my happiness. That's right, just be prepared for him to yell and scream. He'll try to fight it, but eventually, he'll come to his senses and accept the new reality. It's important that you stay calm, but firm. Let him have a tantrum, and then he'll realize that you're in charge. That's right. Besides, as far as he knows, this will only be temporary. Once he accepts it, he'll start to like it. Then it'll just keep going. Are you sure about all this? Jack can be very stubborn. Look, Kayla, Jack loves you more than anything in the world. Sure, he'll get angry, but when he calms down, he'll realize that he loves you so much that he'll do anything to make you happy, even that. Okay, I think you're the expert. Trust me, it took me messing up 2 marriages to figure it all out, but I perfected the method on my 3rd marriage. You've met my current husband. He is now completely under my control. He even stands next to the bed when I'm with someone else. A month from now, another Jack will get in line. Then you can be assured of the security of your marriage to Jack, as well as the pleasure of several other men. I finished the day and went home to cook Jack his favorite dinner. When Jack came home, he greeted me with the words, "I love you," and kissed me on the cheek as usual. Despite my best efforts, I was still nervous. This was going to be a big step and change in our marriage, but it was all worth it. Mary had been telling me about her FLM feminine marriage ministry for quite some time now. I have personally seen it work for her and her husband. He was really happy with how their marriage turned out. I'm sure Jack would love it too. The conversation over dinner was enjoyable. We told each other about the previous day and discussed some of the news of the day. It was a casual dinner for us. After dinner, I insisted that he grab a beer and go rest while I cleaned up. He resisted a little, wanting to help, but I told him it wasn't much, and I could handle it. The leftovers were put away, the dishes were put in the dishwasher, and it was time. I poured myself a glass of wine, mentally prepared myself, and went into the living room for the talk. "Jack, honey, we need to talk," I started. "Sure, honey. About what?" "Okay, Jack. I realize this might be hard for you to accept right now, but it's something I really need to do. Remember, this is just a temporary thing." "Okay. So what's going on? If it's important to you, I'll do my best to make you happy." Surprisingly, Jack took it pretty well. He wasn't bothered at all, which was a relief. That's good. We've talked about having kids, and I'm almost ready for that. But there are a couple of other things I feel I need to do first. It should only take a couple of months, and then we can start working on having kids. That's great, baby. So what are these things you need to do? Well, Jack, I need to experience some things before settling down completely. It's just a temporary phase. I want to be the best wife and mother for our future children. All right, my love. That sounds reasonable so far. But what exactly do you need to do? I took a deep breath and prepared myself. Well, Jack, I need to explore a bit. See other people for a while. We'll still be together, but I'll also be intimate with others to clear my head. It's just physical, and you're the only one I love. I'll come back in a couple of months and we can focus on starting our family. Well, Kayla, you don't seem to be asking for my permission, but I'm not in favor of it. I won't stop you since you're a grown woman, but I want it on record that I don't agree. If you've made up your mind, go ahead, but I won't give my consent. Surprisingly, things were going better than I expected. Jack remained calm and didn't raise his voice. Mary's advice seemed to be working. So, Kayla, how will this work? Will you move out? or do you expect me to leave? Where will you meet these people? I explained. We'll keep living here since we're married. I'll go to them sometimes and they might come here. You'll have to sleep in the spare bedroom on those nights. No need for a hotel. Again, I'm not okay with this, but we absolutely can't have sex during this. It's for my health. I don't know these people, and I won't risk getting any diseases. We'll need to wait until you've been tested and cleared if you decide to come back. Sure, honey, do what you need to do. Just don't worry about me. So when do you plan to start? Jack asked. Mary and I are meeting some guys from work tomorrow night. I might bring one back. Since we won't be intimate during this time, maybe it's best if you move into the spare room for a couple of months. Okay, Kayla, don't stress about it. I'll take care of moving into the spare room by the time you get home tomorrow night, Jack said, returning to reading the paper. I couldn't believe how mature he was about the whole thing. My heart soared. Despite his weak complaints and refusal to have sex, he was accepting of everything, not even a hint of anger. Mary was right. In 2 months, Jack would be under my control. I knew the lack of intimacy was temporary. In a week or 2, he'd be back in my bed, and then I'd use the vaginal wrench to make him fully embrace his new role as my submissive hubby. The next day, I called Mary. Hey girl. So how'd it go last night? I exclaimed. Oh my God. Jack was so mature about everything. I expected him to explode, but he was calm and accepting. Mary agreed, saying, I told you he'd comply. Do you think you'll convince him to watch tonight? I doubt it. He said he won't have sex while I'm with someone else. But won't last long. After a week or 2, he'll be back using his hands, knowing he has a beautiful woman by his side. Nah, that could be fun, Mary chuckled. Since he refused to touch me, I made him move to the spare room. He's packing up now, promised to be out of our bedroom before I come home tonight. Mary laughed. I love that you changed it from master bedroom to owner's bedroom. I'll start doing that too. Anyway, I'll see you at the club. Bye-bye. Later that night, Jack had made progress packing up my bedroom. I was too busy getting ready to notice. He complimented me on my outfit but said nothing about the little red cocktail dress. Okay, Jack, I'm going out. I'll probably be back around 1 a.m. So don't wait for me. Besides, I might not be alone. I told him, picking up my clutch and getting ready to walk out the door. Don't worry, sweetie. I'll have moved out by then, he promised, closing the last box. Something bothered me as I left the house, but I pushed it out of my mind, focusing on the fun tonight would bring. I met Mary, Larry, and Josh at the club. Larry and Josh, the account managers, were well hung, according to office rumors. While Jack is above average, I looked forward to the excitement tonight. Jack actually moved to the spare bedroom? Mary asked at the club. Yes, he finished packing when I left. He promised to be completely moved out when I returned, I replied. Did he really say that? Josh asked. Yes, he said. I'll have moved out by then. We all laughed. For hours, we danced and drank. I danced with both guys several times, feeling their erections against me. Mary and I discussed the night in the ladies' room. I drove Josh home, and Mary took Larry. The house was dark when I led Josh in, and I figured Jack was in bed. I thought about rewarding him with a hand job later. Right now, I had other things to focus on. Josh wanted me to keep the garter belt and stockings on. The next 2 hours were blissful. We started with missionary, moved to doggy style, and finished with cowgirl. After a brief rest, we resumed. I enjoyed it when he spanked my ass while I rode him. Maybe I'll let Jack do it on special occasions, but for now, I'll save it for my other lovers. We ended up in the shower again before bedtime and once more the next morning. After that, Josh had to leave for his family, so I got some coffee. Surprisingly, Jack hadn't made any yet, which disappointed me. I'll talk to him later about it. Would it hurt him to make me coffee and breakfast after I stayed up late? The handiwork reward plan went out the window. After breakfast, I showered and dressed in comfy shorts and a t-shirt. Since I was just around Jack, I opted for a functional bra and regular panties. While fixing my hair, the phone rang, and it was Mary. Hey girlfriend, how was Josh last night? Amazing. Exactly as I thought, I replied. What about Jack this morning? I don't know. I'm a bit annoyed. He's still asleep and didn't make breakfast or coffee. I was planning on offering him a part-time job for moving to the spare room, but not anymore. Mary advised, express your disappointment and set expectations. Be assertive but reward him for good behavior. I'm getting annoyed he hasn't gotten up. Let me go wake him. I went to the spare room, knocked, and called his name. But no response. I opened the door and realized he wasn't there. His clothes were gone too. Panic set in. Oh fuck, I told Mary. What's wrong? She asked. Jack moved out. His truck and tools are gone. I misunderstood his plans. He meant moving out of the whole house, not just my room. I need to call him and find out where he is. Mary advised against it, saying it would show weakness. Stay strong. Don't contact him. Let him contact you. Trust me, he's just having a tantrum. In a couple of days, he'll come crawling back. This is a good thing. Now you have a reason to make him beg and punish him to speed up the process. You could even let Josh or Larry knock you up, and Jack could raise the baby. Are you sure about that? I'm sure. Look at what my husband does for me. Of course, I've been right so far. Larry wants to meet you in the supply closet at work on Monday. Can we get away with that? Sure. Half the girls are doing it. I'll email you the meeting time. Just put it down as an appointment elsewhere. Don't worry, the boss never goes there. We chatted a bit longer before hanging up. I was nervous about Jack's move. Despite my actions, I do love him and want a future together. Mary made FLM sound appealing, allowing me to explore different men while keeping Jack as my faithful husband. Maybe I could use tying him up as a condition for his return. I laughed it off, had a simple dinner, and went to bed. By Friday morning, I hadn't heard from Jack. Mary assured me it was normal, and that he would reach out soon. I had daily meetings with Larry, Josh, and a couple of guys in the pantry this week, with a double team scheduled for the afternoon. During our break, an attractive woman handed each of us an envelope, informing us we've been served. She quickly snapped a picture and headed to our boss's office. Confused? I asked. What's this? She replied, they pay me to hand them out, not read them, and walked away. She entered the boss's office without knocking, and less than a minute later, she came out, wishing us a good day as she cheerfully walked out of the building. Curious, we opened our packets simultaneously, only to find a petition for the dissolution of marriage. The reason stated was spousal cheating, and I froze in shock. Josh and Larry's phones rang simultaneously, and they cursed loudly. It was their wives on the line, having received proof of their deeds. Their belongings were about to be thrown out, and divorce papers were imminent. Our boss erupted from his office, noticing us. He yelled for us to get into his office, and we walked in with a bad feeling. He slammed the door behind us, waving an envelope. He explained that the company was being sued for not following the moral code in the employee handbook. He accused us of inappropriate behavior during business hours and on company property. We remained silent, and he ranted about the nightmare we created. The court order prevented him from firing us until the case was settled. He dismissed us from his office, and we headed back to our desks. My job was on thin ice, but at least I still had one. Going through the divorce petition, I realized it was bad, containing pictures, videos, audio, and notarized letters. An hour later, a company-wide email from the boss announced drastic actions due to repeated violations of the moral code. Management couldn't determine all involved employees, so widespread measures were being taken. All employees are required to familiarize themselves with the code of morals in the employee handbook. Over the weekend, there will be an online class for every employee to complete successfully by next Friday. Security will conduct spot checks of secluded areas, and permanent cameras will be installed in those locations, with the storage room being locked and the key held by the security supervisor. Any supplies needed must be brought in with a security escort. Computer use will be closely monitored to prevent personal use of company assets. Prohibited activities include scheduling non-work-related meetings during work or non-work hours, personal email on company computers, browsing non-work-related websites, and non-work-related text messaging. Socializing with coworkers should be limited to the break room during scheduled breaks and lunch periods, monitored by security personnel. The names of those responsible will not be disclosed. My email exploded with hate mail from coworkers 2 minutes later. After work, I met the others at a bar. We sat at a small corner table, receiving unpleasant looks from coworkers at Friday happy hour. At least we still had jobs for now. Josh explained Jack's inclusion of the job-related measures in the court order. It was to prevent any possibility of alimony in case of layoffs after the divorce. Resigning voluntarily would also jeopardize any alimony claims. Larry emphasized the importance of holding onto our jobs and saving every penny, as Josh and he would likely face alimony and child support payments. Realizing the impact of our actions, I considered resigning on Monday, but was advised against it. Leaving voluntarily could harm any potential alimony claims, and it would be challenging to convince a judge otherwise. The situation was bleak, but we decided to endure the consequences for the time being. What do you think will happen when we are suddenly laid off and can't find another job that pays almost as much? Keep in mind that alimony and child support are based on income at the time of the divorce. Damn, this FLM thing sounded far from good right now. I realized I needed to talk to Jack and try to work things out. Sure, I wanted to help my friends, but I just couldn't lose my husband. What the hell was I thinking? Screw my friends. If I need to throw them under the bus to save my marriage, let the tossing begin. I quickly pulled out my cell phone. I'm sorry, but the number you dialed does not accept calls from this number. Fuck. Mary, give me your phone. Why? Because Jack blocked my number. I need to talk to him and get this damn storm fixed. She handed me her phone, and my 3 companions looked at me questioningly. I'm sorry, but the number you have dialed does not accept calls from this number. Shit, he's blocked yours too. Try Larry or Josh. Uh-huh. Not a good idea. I'm trying to fix it. What do you think he'll do if he finds out the first call I make to him is from one of my lover's phones? Yeah, I know. You already think I'm stupid. At this point, I can't even refute it. I was in a panic. How am I supposed to find my husband who really doesn't want to be found on a Friday night? Sleeping over at his work is useless as it's also closed and he doesn't work on weekends. Since my cell phone, like Mary's, is blocked, I'm pretty sure he's also blocked our home phone and my work phone. I decided that talking on the phone wasn't going to work anyway. I needed to do it face to face. I needed to find out where he was and ambush him. To hell with the whole women's marriage crap. Right now, I'd gladly submit to him completely to get my husband back. God, things have changed. Just this morning, I was thinking about how I'd make him beg and grovel to come home. Any guesses on who would be begging and groveling now? I picked up my phone and started going through my contacts. Sure enough, at least one of his friends knows where I can find him. Spoiler, none of our mutual friends knew anything. Well, that wasn't exactly true. None of the previous mutual friends who remained friends with me knew anything. The numerous mutual friends who now hated me knew enough. Unfortunately, while they had no reservations about letting me know that they knew exactly where I could find him, they also defiantly refused to reveal that information to me. I was met with laughter when I asked if they would be so kind as to give him a message from me. I had just dejectedly finished my last call and 4th drink. That's when Josh showed his intelligence. Yes, it was said sarcastically. Maybe it was just my mood at the time, or it could have just been the result of the differences between how a woman thinks and how a man thinks. Perhaps some of you will actually think that what Josh suggested was really brilliant. Me? I don't think so. Well, Josh began, since our lives are all messed up anyway, why don't we go to Kayla's and spend the whole night as a foursome? We've already been together, so we can take advantage of that and have fun all night long. He thought that was sound logic. Maybe to him, but I'd just gotten a big dose of common sense. Of course, if there's nothing left to lose, there might be something to think about. Personally, I think Jack and I still have a tiny chance. That tiny chance would evaporate faster than a drop of water on the surface of the sun if I took everyone into the house and had a late-night party with them. I politely declined and offered to let Mary take them home. I had a husband I was trying to get back. I tried everything I could think of to find Jack on the weekends. I drove around motel parking lots for hours looking for his truck. I drove past all of his friends' houses at different times to see if his truck was there. I even tried to follow his best friend when I saw him leaving his house, hoping he would go to where Jack was. It was all in vain. Monday morning, I camped across the street from his work. That morning, I saw everyone come in, but Jack never showed up. I waited another hour. Still nothing. Even though I was already late for work, I didn't care. Forget it. They weren't going to fire me right now anyway, and I'd still get fired after the settlement. But that didn't matter. I got out of the car and headed for the office. I saw that the door to Jack's office was closed, so I asked the receptionist if Jack was here. She told me he was gone for 2 weeks. Shit. The boss threw me an angry look when I walked in 2 hours late. I didn't care. All the phones I could have used are blocked. His friends refuse to help. I can't even get a message to him at work. I have no idea where he is, so I can't show up on his doorstep. Mail is not an option because I have no idea where to send it. What are my options? Email? He always checks email. I just have to hope he doesn't block my emails. There's nothing wrong with trying. Jack, I have no excuse, so I won't waste our time trying to give you one. I'll just say that I've somehow contracted the disease of fools. I don't blame Mary for it because I was the one who made the decision. But I just thought it was so wonderful to hear her talk about women's marriage. I have no idea what made me think there was the slightest chance you'd accept it anyway. Yeah, I should have known better. I'm really sorry you had to metaphorically hit me over the head to wake me up. I'm awake now. I need you to know that I am deeply embarrassed and regret my actions. I realize you won't accept that anyway. Jack, despite my recent actions, I truly love you with my whole being. Don't think for a second that you did anything wrong. It was just me being an incredible idiot and selfish. Jack, my love. Even though I don't deserve it, I beg you to forgive me. I need you to let me come back, and I'm willing to give you anything to make that happen. I saw how foolish it was of me to try to create FLM, but I would be thrilled to be a part of MLFF. Yes, Jack, I'm giving you my soul and you're just giving me orders. I will literally do anything you want me to do to get back to where I belong. With you. Yeah, I know the definition of the word anything. Please, Jack, I'm offering you anything. You know I've never had the slightest interest in women, and yet I'll eat your cream pie out of another woman for you. I'll serve you and any of your friends at a Super Bowl party wearing only a garter belt, stockings, and high heels if it brings me back to you. You want to take me in the ass? Just tell me to bend over the nearest chair regardless of who else is watching. Would it help to spank my ass with a leather belt? Just tell me when and where. I'll even bring you the belt. Since you have absolutely no reason to trust me, I'll gladly put on the chastity belt and give you the keys. Since it was already a condition of my return to you, I've already had my blood drawn for an STD test. The results should be back in a couple of days. Just tell me where to send the results and I'll get them to you. Jack, I know that no matter what happens, you're the best person I've ever known. I know you could never bring yourself to hurt me, even though I probably deserve it. I accept it all. I'm not asking you to forget or at least trust me again. All I'm asking for is the opportunity to be yours in any capacity you desire. I ask for nothing more than to come back to you. Forever. Even if I have to agree to a divorce or watch you have sex with other women to do it. I pray it doesn't happen, but I realize it's not my decision. I am the one at fault, and I recognize that you might want to even the score. Goosey, all that crap? What about Mary, Larry, Josh, and the lawsuit against my company? Mary manipulated me into agreeing to this plan. Josh and Larry took advantage of that. As you know, I will be fired as soon as the lawsuit against the company is settled. It's all our fault. Do what you want with them. I'll even help if you want me to. After all, I am your willing slave from now on. Your loving slave, Kayla. Epilogue. Thankfully, Jack hasn't blocked my email yet. What's even more surprising is that he actually read it. No, he didn't take my word for it. After all, I'd already broken the biggest vow I'd ever made. You know, the one about leaving everyone else behind. Since I'd broken that promise, what could make him think I wouldn't break any other promises? All I could do was prove it to him one action at a time. It had been 2 years since I'd sent that letter. Josh and Larry had been pretty well raped in their divorces. All 4 of us were fired the day after the lawsuit against the company was settled. Josh and Larry eventually managed to find another job with much lower pay. They had to move into a small 1-bedroom apartment in one of the worst neighborhoods in the city. Since no decent woman wants anything to do with a guy who can barely afford to pay rent, their social lives became largely non-existent. Their ex-wives used this opportunity to turn the kids against them. I realize that both women are in much better relationships now. Me? Right now I'm kneeling naked beside the bed wearing a chastity belt while Jack finishes. This is my penance. I put all this in a letter. Yes. Jack wanted to test me and see if I would honor those words or not. If I want him back, I really don't have much choice. It was a pretty rough 6 months, but eventually he backed off a bit. He still makes me do it sometimes, like now, but it's gotten better now. He only brings other women home once every 2 months now. After I was fired, I stopped working. Jack got a promotion and now earns enough for us to manage well without my income. I mostly stay at home, taking care of our 2-year-old twins. I used to be naked most of the time, but Jack recently suggested I start wearing clothes at home as the kids are growing up. Still, I only put on clothes when leaving the house, or when we have guests. For deliveries, I open the door naked. I had laser hair removal, so I now have a permanent landing strip over my private area with Jack's name tattooed on both sides. Every week, Jack updates the 5 red stripes on my buttocks with a leather strap. Sometimes, if I mess up, there might be more stripes on my chest or butt. Surprisingly, I enjoy it. Mary, on the other hand, faced tougher consequences. She lost her job and went through a challenging 6 months. Her husband, Harold, revealed a different side and handed her divorce papers after settling the score. She lost the house and a significant amount of money. You might be wondering why I endure this or think I got what I deserved. If you're upset that Jack didn't leave me, I'm grateful every day that he didn't, even though I deserved it. I tolerate it because I can't imagine life without the love of my life. Jack whips and humiliates me, but he still loves me. While he has other women, it's never without me. I have the option to leave, and Jack has shown me fair divorce papers, but I turned down the offer. Despite the unconventional dynamics, he's a wonderful father, lover, and husband. I found contentment, even though I initially lost sight of what was really important in pursuit of a different kind of relationship.